Rev up your engine. Now, people always say Lexuses cost too much money. Me, I bought one used for my wife. So, we're going to go through the whole thing. It was, yes, a granny's car. Not only had 75,000 miles on it when he bought it. There's many of these out there because they're luxury cars. Hence, rich people own them, right? And when they get older, they either get rid of them, maybe they don't drive anymore, but there's actually a lot of these around. Now, we're going to check with our machine to make sure they didn't cheat on the mileage, but I see so many of these granny cars out there. He got this thing for $8,500. Another guy bought it from Granny, and then that guy got in financial problems, so he sold it to my customer today. You think, $8,500 in this coronavirus, post-coronavirus society? That's a good price for one of these things, let me tell you. Of course, you never know. We're going to know as we check it out, and I'll show you things you'd check it out, but hey, the leather seats, you get a little bit of wear. You can put seat covers on them. You can see nobody ever used the back seat, so it's certainly believable that was a granny car. Not too many grannies have children, you know. We're going to do a full scan of it. You know, even back in the day here, they had push-button starts on these. Starts right up as we open the hood. Got the Lexus V6. Take the stupid beauty cover off. Put it over here so you can see what's actually happening underneath. These engines can last hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles. And yes, this thing has quite a bit of power. It's got timing chain instead of belt. If you maintain these cars correctly, the engines are great. The only problem I see is some people don't change the oil enough, and a lot of them fall for that BS that, well, you can change the engine oil every 10, 12,000 miles. No, change it every 5 with full synthetic oil. Because people bring me these and they will be burning oil because the people did not change the oil enough. They tell you to change it every 10. They don't care. By the time it starts burning oil, it's out of warranty, right? And this is long out of warranty. This one, it seems that people have taken care of it. But here's one trick you can do to make sure, right? We'll get this out of the way. We're going to pull out one spark plug. We'll take the coil on plug off here. We'll unbolt it. And you gotta see this is in the way, so we're gonna take the duct, move it out of the way, loosen it up. So we'll have some working room. There, now we got some working room. We'll unclip the lead to get the electronics off. Now we can easily get this out of the way. Easier said than done. We gotta pull it a little bit further over. Then we'll pull out the one spark plug and take a look at it. Spark plug condition tells you all kinds of information what's going on inside the car. As you can see, they don't give you much working room, but what the heck, just use the wrench the whole way. And out comes the spark plug. And what do we see? A perfectly clean spark plug. There is no oil. If this was an oil burner, you would see all kinds of oil caked up here, and then you'd say goodbye, don't buy this car. Now, if you remember the video I made a few years back in Tennessee where a guy bought one at a Lexus dealer, I mean, he didn't overpay. He paid like $9 grand for his, but it started running poorly a few months later, and when I pulled out the plugs, they were covered with carbon, and I told him, man, he was screwed 7 ways to Sunday. But what I did was, you got to take the intake manifold to change the other 3 plugs. I changed all 6 plugs and got it running good, but I warned him. It's an oil burner. The previous owners did not maintain it. In this case, no, clean as a whistle. So, if you're thinking about buying one of these, you don't have to pull them all out. Pull one of them out. And if it looks okay, generally it's fine, because the one that I worked on, they were all bad because the guy didn't change the oil, the previous owner. And if you don't, it's going to affect them all. So you don't have to go through the trouble of pulling them all apart. You can check one, and if it's clean, odds are the rest are okay, especially if it runs okay like this one. But do pull out one, because hey, if it's burning oil, you don't want to buy that car. Then of course you put it back in. Now, let's say you're looking at a used car, and you say, oh, you want to check a spark plug? And the owner says no? Walk away. He's probably trying to hide something from you. Like I say, you don't have to do them all. One will give you a pretty good idea, unless it's running poorly, in which case one I wouldn't advise buying it anyways, but you can pull them all out and then see exactly if it's one cylinder or another. But really, if it isn't running right, don't buy it. And of course, make sure you tighten all the clamps back on. You don't want any air leaks. Make sure everything's nice and tight. These are stupid, but in this case, you can see it actually does something. It's got foam insulation, so Lexus always wants their cars quiet. It does make it a little quieter inside your car because there's that insulation. Then there's this insulation, so they don't make much noise anyway, but that's the main reason they put them on. It's got really high fuel pressure, so, you know, always keep that in mind. If you do ever smell fuel, go and find what it is right away. That pressure is so high, it can squirt all over and start a fire. Now, it's a Lexus, you rarely ever smell any gasoline in them, so you smell gas. Fix it sooner than later, because that high pressure can create problems. We'll see what's happening inside electronically. And the owner's shaking in his boots there. I find a plug here, it's hiding up in here, but there it is. And now, this is a Lexus made in Japan, so one solid car, may be old, but it's still solid as can be. We'll turn on the idiot lights and we'll start analyzing stuff. Full diagnostic with our hotel here. GS350 North America to GRFSE. And so we'll start doing some analysis here. We'll take a little look around. Everything's still in good shape. The rest of the leather's good. The driver's seat's got a little crack in it, but I mean, hey, it's an old car and it lives up north. Just like my wife's Lexus, we're living in the past. It has a logic control tape deck. Yes, it has a tape deck. Also has CD here. But a good sound, you know, it's old-fashioned. And it's got an old-fashioned screen. But it still has many things you can mess around with. Touchscreen still works, of course, it's a Lexus. Information, menu, mahogany on the side still looks nice. And in the center console is still in good shape. And it may be old, but hey, you got power, ECT, and snow for driving in the snow. You can also turn the traction control off. And it has heated and cooled seats, even in this old thing. Take a little bit of time. It's at 83% now. Soon it'll be done and we'll see. It'll probably have some weird codes or oddball stuff, but you can say everything here is passing. There's a few faults. We'll start with the adaptive front lighting system. Left headlight swivel motor. These adaptive headlight systems break down as they age. Hey, as long as they stay straight, leave them alone. We're going to race it anyways and then see what happens after we drive it. It's got a code for the smart access system. It's an old car, but it's still got a keyless system. We'll see what that is. Antenna coil circuit open short. Well, it acted weird, but it's working now. Who really cares? You'll get all kinds of squirrely codes with these keyless systems as they age. As long as it starts, stops, opens the doors, who cares? The AC system has two faults. Passenger solar sensor circuit and a driver solar circuit. They often will break down the sensors, but hey, it's still blowing perfectly cold enough for him. You're not going to tear the car apart, start replacing circuits. Oh, it won't be so perfectly accurate. Hey, it gets too cold, turn it up. Now we'll erase those codes too. Now we'll start it up and look at some live data. See what kind of shape this car's in. Here we go through. We're going to get all kinds of data. Maybe an old car, but you get a lot of data with a good scan tool like this. Check it out. Short-term fuel bank, 0. It's still running perfectly. And that's bank 1. The short-term fuel term on bank 2 was 0.7, so it's only a tiny bit off of perfect. 0 was perfect. Then it was 0 for a second there. There it's 0. It's striving to become perfect. Fuel sensor's great. It's a 3.5 liter. Hey, pretty close to 3.5. Kinds of transmission data. The oil temperature's good. You might not see it on the dash. They don't have that there, but the computer knows. Done. It's completed. Has no misfire. Variable valve timing info, and that's all good. And you can see here, it knows that it's got direct injection. You can see here, it also has port injector. There's how many milliseconds firing. It's a bit complex, but hey, still runs pretty good, you know. You can't argue with results, right? And as you can see, there's 0 misfires for all 6 cylinders. It's running fine. Everything checked out fine. Let's take it for a ride. Put it in reverse. It's an old car, but it's still got a backup camera. A little faded from age, but you can see where you're going. Now, this is a luxury car. We're not going to go flying over the bump, but it takes the bumps pretty good. With this low mileage, 79,353 miles, almost everything in this car is still original, as are the struts. Now, it rides perfectly fine. If you wanted a smoother ride, you could buy all 4 new ones. It cost you quite a bit of money. I mean, it tracks perfectly fine, but if you did want a smoother ride, and these roads in Rhode Island are pretty bumpy, if I was buying this car, keeping it in Rhode Island, I'd put all 4 struts on it just because I'd want it to ride smooth for my wife. Now, as we come to the stop sign, here come all the people. There's people everywhere. Here we go. Step on the gas. this thing goes. My wife's ES300, it doesn't have this kind of pickup. It's got a lot more pickup. Of course, it's got a fancier fuel injection system, more gears on the transmission, and even though the struts are worn, hey, I mean, it still rides pretty good, and it still corners really well too, so it's not something you gotta do right away. The noise is all of this stickers and easy pass flying all over the place, and his water bottle too. The car itself, you don't feel any shaking. It is really quiet. I mean, you certainly got a deal for 8,500 bucks with this kind of mileage. A scan tool hooked up just to see if any of these codes come back. And like I said, this thing handles quite well, even with worn struts on it. And that tranny still shifts like it did the day it was made. Realize this isn't all-wheel drive version, and it handles. In the snow, you don't have any words with this baby. Or in the rain, for that matter. Let's see if there's any codes come back. Do the diagnosis. And guess what? Everything is turning up blue. As you can see, they're all past no faults. Let me tell you, if somebody ever plowed into my wife's Lexus, I could find something like this, I would definitely buy the car, right? But, I mean, hers only has a little bit more mileage on that, so... Hey, I'm keeping it. For 8,500 bucks with that kind of mileage, you ever find a car like that that's real, and this is real. That's the real mileage. Snap it up at that kind of price. Drive it. Give it to one of your friends for what you paid for it if you get tired of it. The new ones are super expensive. They're much more complicated than this. This is stand the test of time, and it still runs like a top. But, as I warned, always check a spark plug in these. Because if you got an oil burner because the previous owner didn't maintain it, change your oil every 5,000 miles, use the full synthetic, and stick to normal changes, or once a year if you don't drive much. Oil's cheap, engines aren't. And in this case, the previous owner had it taken care of, and it's still in pristine shape. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.